Okay, so we promised you guys we're going to share with y'all how to make cornbread with regular whole corn. And it's a little different making cornbread from fresh ground corn than it is from buying it out of the store, you know, buying self-rising cornmeal out of the store. So I had a lot of questions about how you make cornbread with fresh corn. And so we wanted to share that recipe with y'all, and hopefully y'all will be able to get your hands on some fresh ground corn and be able to make cornbread with it, because it is so much better. It's how we make cornbread now. Once I figured out that you could actually do that, make cornbread from fresh ground corn, we've been doing that ever since for several years now, making our cornbread that way. And it's really delicious. You get to control the amount of corn that actually goes in your cornbread, so you can have a stronger corn flavor, or if you don't like a strong corn flavor, you can cut that back some and have a little, a little milder flavor of corn in your cornbread. So we're going to get started. I'm in my overalls today. I got a little tractor work I need to do and today, so I just thought I'd sport my overalls a little bit. And so anyway, we're going to get started with this cornbread, and Savannah's going to help us out, and she's going to add some ingredients together for us. So first thing she's going to do is add our fresh ground corn. Okay, so we've got a half a cup of fresh ground corn, and then we're going to add 1.5 cups of flour. Okay, this is all-purpose flour. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You have to add flour. If you don't add flour to this and you just try to make cornbread out of just fresh ground corn, man, it comes out really dense and just the consistency you're probably not going to like. So you have to add flour to your corn, and in order to get a good consistency that you would like after it's finished cooking. This is the flour I like to use. I like to use Arrowhead Mills flour. It's an organic all-purpose flour, and it's unenriched. It doesn't have any enrichment in it, and it's not bleached. So it's a really favorite flour of mine that I've been buying for several years now, and I really like it. Now, if you don't have all-purpose flour, you can use self-rising flour in this as well. If you use self-rising flour, you won't need to use any leavening agents like baking soda or baking powder. But if you're going to use all-purpose flour, we're going to have to add leavening agents, okay? So the next thing we're going to add is 1 teaspoon of salt. And this is, we like to use our Himalayan pink salt. It has a good flavor to it. And then we're going to add our leavening agent, which is 2 teaspoons of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of it's 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, so it's 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And you can look at the recipe on the video. End of the video, there's a recipe, and it'll give you all the proper ingredients. All right, so we're going to stir that together. And while she's stirring that together, I have my 2 cups of buttermilk, and I have 1 egg. It's important to use buttermilk when making bread like this using a leavening agents, because the buttermilk is an acid, and it sort of helps activate your baking powder and baking soda. Okay, so it's sort of important to use buttermilk. You can get away with whole milk. There's enough acid in the baking powder to help that rise, but buttermilk really enhances that and helps it get going. Okay, so we have 1 egg and 2 cups of buttermilk, and then we're going to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil, just any kind of vegetable oil you have on hand, or lard. If you have lard, you can melt lard and put in here as well. Okay, so now I'm going to add my buttermilk to my dry mix. Okay, and we're looking at Savannah stir that together for us. like I said previously, when you buy, in our last video we was talking about this a little bit, when you buy self-rising cornmeal, it has the corn and the flour already mixed in. So if you look on the side of the bag of self-rising cornmeal, you'll read that some of the ingredients, one of the ingredients is flour, you know, unbleached or bleached flour or enriched flour, some kind of flour. So you just really can't make cornbread with just plain corn. You got to add something to it to give it that texture that you're looking for. Okay, so Savannah's got that mixed up pretty good. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to move over to the stove, and we're going to put this in our cast iron frying pan and show you how to do that and bake it, and then show you how it turns out. So let's move over to the stove. Okay, so we're over at the stove, and we've let our oil in our frying pan heat up for 10 or 15 minutes on low heat, and we've got 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil in the bottom of our frying pan, and this is just going to help give the cornbread a good crust on the bottom. You can see that I'm just covering the bottom of the pan, that's all. And this is a 10-inch skillet, and we've got our oven on 425 degrees. So we're going to go ahead. I think our oil is hot enough and to put our cornbread mix in. So I'll be able to tell that in just a minute when I pour it in there. You'll hear it start frying. Yeah. You probably can hear that. I don't know if you can or not, but it's frying. And you know that your oil is hot enough when it does that. And what I like to do is when this happens, I'll just turn this eye off and let that sit there and fry for a minute. I tell you, it's hard for me to get myself. I'm so tall. It's hard for me to get all of myself and the stove and everything else in the video. So y'all just bear with me. Y'all don't have to see me, I don't reckon. This is we just, as long as you see how to cook this bread. I have another frying pan over here as well, and it's like a griddle, like a flat frying pan, and a lot of times I'll take that same batter and I'll use it and just make like pancakes instead of making a pan of cornbread like this. It's going to rise and, you know, just be one whole cake of cornbread. I'll take it and fry small little pancakes, individual pancakes of cornbread, and then everybody have their own individual piece. But you can take this same batter and do that, and it tastes pretty good that way, to be honest with you. And so I think our bread's fried long enough. We're gonna go ahead and put it in our oven. We preheat to 425 degrees, and you can set your timer for about 15 minutes. Of course, you know everybody's oven's different. One thing I wanted to note is a lot of times you'll see people cook their cornbread until it just browns on top, and in my opinion, you've overcooked it, and you almost dry the bread out. So it's almost like baking a cake. You know, if you bake cakes before and you reach in there and you test the middle of it to see if it's done. Cornbread's about the same way. Just because it's still light on top when you check it in the oven doesn't mean it's not ready. So just take you some a toothpick or something and reach in there, and if it comes out clean, then your cornbread is ready, and your cornbread will still be nice and moist on the inside. It won't be overcooked. You can overcook your bread. I see a lot of people doing that, cooking it till it's just completely brown and on the top side. And it's just, when you do that, you pretty much, in my opinion, you've overcooked the bread. So just watch that, and you're not going to hurt it by overcooking it by no means, but I just think it has a little bit better consistency, and it's not as dry when you don't cook it as long as you don't cook it until it turns brown. Okay, so we're going to let this cook, and we'll be back in a minute, and we'll take it out of the oven and show you what it looks like. Okay, so our cornbread's been cooking for about I think 12 to 15 minutes, something like that, about 15 minutes, and we're going to check it and see what it looks like. I think she's ready. You can see, I wish my lighting was a little better than what it is, so you could see this. Let me try to turn out this light. I think I got too much light going on. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. Can you see that? See how blonde that still is? It's not brown, but it's done. Okay? And if you was to do a toothpick test on this, you would come out clean. So a lot of people like to cook their bread until it gets completely brown on top, and that'll really dry your bread out. So what I want to do now is just flip this out like that, and see how pretty that turns out. On the bottom side, it has a nice crust on it, and just, let's see if you can hear this when I cut it. See how pretty that is? So that's what you want. Okay guys, so not sure what we're gonna cook next time for you, but stay tuned for our next video, and me and Savannah will come up with something. And I hope you guys enjoy this recipe, and if there's anything you would like for us to cook, let us know. We'll be glad to do that. All right, thank you.